Hi everyone, welcome to OLM community meeting, and today is January 28th, 2025. Let me share my screen. Which option? Yeah. And you should be able to see my screen. Can somebody just confirm this? That if you can see my screen?
Yes, we can say it.
Okay, awesome. Today I do not have any briefs or RFCs here. So if you have anything, please feel free to add here for the rest of us to kind of review and also kind of spread it around the team and contributors. The two old action items, we're still carrying it. That's basically this one is mostly on me. I have not finished it, made some progress, but I haven't finished it. Trying to finish it before today's meeting, but something came up, so couldn't finish it. But hopefully I'll be done before the next meeting. And we have couple of doubts here. Probably we need to confirm with Joe or somebody else who is more familiar with this project, more older than us with respect to the amount of time we spend in the project. The next one is Camila about the candidate release. Camila, do you want to talk about this one? You mentioned that we don't need it right now, so we'll revisit this one next week.
Yes, we have two issues that we think that we need to do a release to address two targets that is using the release of catalog G. One of them per solved without the need of the release, and the other one I will see if I have time to check today at the max tomorrow. So we might be able to solve it without the need of a release candidate. So because that I put it for we revisit this next week.
So there is one card which was assigned to you about I think changing the
so let's put the context, right?
Yeah.
The reason for that, we just want a release candidate because of the mono-rep tasks. If you can open the epic from mono-repo, let's see, I will take the epic here.
Yeah, let's talk about it.
Then we can clarify just a moment, try to find as well.
This one, right?
Yes, if you go in the mono-repo, in the epic, tracked by, I think if you just click it, track, yes. Do you see have two tasks that we consider that we probably need release candidate because the target use the listed release, but pair close one of them without the need of we do the release candidate. So we might be able to close the other as well.
So I actually sent a PR for that one yesterday, and PR merged it today. So where is that?
So now
It's a simple change, right? I was trying to send a PR for your issue also because I thought if I'm doing it, can I do it for both?
Maybe the other one also can be solved at the same way, and then we don't need to do the release candidate, and we leave the release normal release, right?
No, we had a little discussion with Joe also about this. What Joe suggested, which we agreed, is let's do all the required changes, all the scripts, and then we do a candidate release to make sure that all our scripts basically now work as is expected to work. If not, then we fix stuff again, creating issue and fixing it as a bug. But I think unless we fix these scripts first and then do a release candidate, do a release basically to make sure that to confirm that everything works as we expect it to be.
Okay, so are you saying the motivation to do the candidate release is not only this task?
Not only this task, but also to understand that if monorepo is working fine, everything, after monorepo, you have to anyway do a release candidate to make sure that everything is fine after the monorepo. So
Because the other concern that Joe have was about the build of the image, right? If you will have permissions to build the image and to publish the catalog the image in the QIL from
that's a downstream. Are you talking about the downstream concern?
from upstream. But that we also solved already. We already changed because we can have the actions for the release. If you go in the QIL, if you go in the repository that has the public images from upstream, you see that we generate from the main branch. So we also are checking that everything is fine now, that the release will be done because we are doing the release from the main branch. If you go in the QIL, just a moment, I will take the link for you.
Okay. And Camila, is it okay if I send a PR for this one as also? 1604.
Yeah, my point is, if you will be able to solve this one
Yeah.
without the release, I think all the concerns that we have in the last meeting, when we spoke about the need to do a release candidate to address, is done. We don't have more the concerns, right? We probably can do a normal.
No, that's not really because this particular make target looks at the latest release. So if you look at the latest, so what we're saying
Is
is
in the catalog G, right?
we're going to change this line to say operator controller instead of catalog D. When we do that, the latest release for operator controller right now
You'll not have a catalog.
in catalog D from the other repo. So it's not going to actually be using the code from this repo in order to run catalog D. For the purpose of that change, that's probably fine because catalog D is 1.0 still and everything's going to work and it's not a problem. So then that's good. That means we've gotten that line updated to what we actually want it to do, such that when there is a latest release of operator controller that does include catalog D from operator controller, that's already good to go. We don't have to change it. So my thinking was, let's get this looking the way that we want it to look, such that when we tag it, it'll work. But we don't know that we don't know for sure that it's going to work until we tag it and see that it has everything that we need.
There is one more aspect also. So if you look at this, right, which already, because I'm looking to fixing things, I'll observe this. You see, this is basically this is makefile from catalog D directory, right? The goal here is when you run make latest release, it should only run catalog D, not operator controller.
No, I mean, that's how it used to work because catalog D was part of it. The whole purpose of that run latest release is so that we can then run some upgrade tests for catalog D. If operator controller happens to also be running, that's not going to cause any problems for the upgrade test for catalog D.
So in that case, Joe, we do not need this run latest release here because in operator controller make file, we already have run latest release. So that also anyway runs the latest release. So if you go to make,
it's just a question of that if you get rid of that, then you have to change catalog D's makefile to it gets a lot more complicated. So we're trying to have minimal changes right now. Right? If you say, well, we don't need that make target in catalog D at all anymore, well, that's a problem because something else in the catalog D makefile needs that target. So then we have to go change that thing to use the other thing. And eventually it starts unraveling. Then you end up probably with these circular dependencies where the root makefile calls the E2E test in catalog D, which calls run latest release, which goes back to the root makefile. And you don't want any of that to happen. So I think what we're trying to do here is make the minimal change to get catalog D's makefile to still be mostly self-contained.
And then when we think about merging the makefile or things like that would be a separate effort so that we don't we basically take one step at a time. I think makes sense. I agree. Yeah. Okay. Because I was thinking the install.sh, right? When we push install.sh, that's the install.sh from operator controller, not catalog D. And there's a difference between install.sh which comes from catalog D, and there is install.sh which comes from operator controller. And not a lot of difference, but there is a little bit of difference. So I was like, should we push this install.sh from specifically from catalog D with a different name, like catalog install underscore catalog D.sh in the release artifacts? So that's what I was thinking. But looks like we don't need that. So essentially, what we're doing is when we do the next release, the install script of catalog D will not be available in the release artifacts anymore. It would be just one install.sh, and that would be from operator controller.
But
question.
the YAML is now all together, right? The install sh is one file now.
No, there are two files. There are two files. If you go look at catalog D, right? Where you go scripts, you see this is the script.
That stuff's not used anymore.
Right. When you push, because the release process in Makefile does will not push this file to release artifacts. Only it will push the install ptpl.sh file from operator controller.
Yeah, this one I think we didn't remove only because of the integration tests. Maybe some integration tests is still using this one. We need to check, or probably we can just remove that one.
Okay, but anyway, I agree with what Joe is saying. I think that sounds like a good step for us, definitely. So I already have the PR locally, and I can send it.
Aaron trying to say something?
I just wanted to ask, like, what's the risk in just pushing a tag, letting the release job do its thing,
No
not
risk.
publish? So let's just do that.
Well,
Yeah.
the problem is that it needs to be published in order for latest, like for that URL right there, to pick it up. So we need an actual latest release.
It's basically
Okay.
catalog D. It points to, if you see, look at the URL in curl, it basically points to catalog D.
So if we do a release candidate, let the job run, would that fail? Or it would run, images would get pushed, we can then publish, and then we can do another test tag to see if the new script gets picked up. Would that work?
There's no reason that we couldn't do a release right now.
Yeah.
I think
Right.
this is my feeling is more philosophical. Like maybe we shouldn't do a release candidate until we're confident that we think we have everything that we need. And we know for a fact that we don't have everything we need because this line is still incorrect.
So my idea was just to do this small change, right? Then we can do the release tomorrow, for example. Then for me, it doesn't matter if it's release candidate or normal release like a pair said, because if it doesn't work, we
should do a release candidate. Once we have the files in place that we think are the right set of files for the monorepo, we should do a release candidate because we've changed a whole bunch of stuff and we don't have 100% confidence that we've dotted every I and crossed every T. So in my mind, the approach would be, let's get everything the way that we think it should be, do a release candidate, check it, and if it's all good, then we can do the release whenever our normal release window is. If it's not all good, then sure, obviously we'll go back and we'll make whatever fixes we think we need to make and then cut another release candidate and check it again.
Sure.
Yeah, it's not hard, right? I mean, basically, so Pierre, whatever you are saying is also we can do that. What Joe is saying is obviously more philosophical, but we can do that. It's not hard any other way because this is a very simple change, and I actually have the PR locally. I will just send it, and then we can merge it, and then we can do a.
Yeah, I think we probably spent more time talking about it right now than it would be just do it and get it done.
Yeah, I actually already have made the change. It's my local file. I just need to send it. Cool. Thanks everyone. So let's move on. So next we have discussion topics. Jordan, want to talk about your topic?
I mean, it's pretty straightforward in the note there, but as one of the maintainers, I'm getting emails about security findings in the repository, and I want to be a good steward but I don't know what the right action to take here is. It feels like we ought to archive this because we don't plan on using it in the foreseeable future.
Yeah, I would say archive it.
Yeah, I agree.
Can I put the action item on someone who can do it?
I'll do it. I think I have the stew. If I don't, I know who to scream at.
Let me add action item on you, Jordan.
Actually, I wonder if at some point we should audit all of the repositories we have up on operator framework and cull that if there's stuff there that's no longer useful.
Maintain. Yeah.
Yeah. And similarly with the team structure and the people there and so on. Like we have a lot of old OLMs still attached to the repository, to the organization.
Yep.
Moving to the next one, which is roadmap check-in. Do we have Daniel here? I guess not. We had a little bit of chat last week, and the first topic, which was performance and scale. So Daniel is basically going to look into this one. So I would actually unassign myself, and and Daniel, I can assign it to Daniel actually. For this one. So just wanted
Hey,
to.
Lala, can you put a comment in there that says something along the line? We already talked about this last week. I think we need to have another sort of refinement session for this whole epic and get anybody who's going to be working on this together to talk about what our plan is. Because it's had like well, maybe not 3 or 4. It's had at least one attempt, and we didn't really give it the attention that it needed. And I see John is doing some stuff, and it's like, let's get together and make sure that we know what we're doing, because I feel like the way that it's written right now is probably not what we actually want to focus on. Or at least we should probably hone in what we want to focus on rather than, because I think the way that I wrote it is it's very broad and has a lot of ideation, but might not be as actionable as it needs to be.
So I did not see Jordan's comment before. Like today when I opened it up, I saw it. Jordan, do you want to add anything?
Well,
Yes.
I was pretty much when Joe started talking, I put my hand up because I was going to say something very similar to him. The only additional thing that I think he didn't cover is that I wanted to make it explicit that the new query API for catalog D that we have ongoing issues in flight for should be part of the discussion here too. So I'll definitely be an interested party in pursuing this one.
Cool.
Yeah, I think so. The idea that I have is not dissimilar from some of the feature gate stuff we were thinking about, where this epic is about let's establish a framework for different components and subsystems to be able to register interesting metrics or performance related measurements and then to have a way to then measure that over time and to then have some way to detect, oh, something is off, essentially. So this is about sort of establishing that framework. Jordan's stuff is the first place that we want to go and do that, right? So we've got the catalog D query endpoint. We want to make sure that that is performant. So Jordan is probably going to come and tell the folks working on this framework, here are the things that I think are useful to measure. Here's what I want to see, here's what I want a baseline. Here's what I want to get an alert on, if I violate something that I've measured. And we'll use that sort of as the guinea pig for how to go about building the framework. So there's separate efforts. I just want to make that clear, but one informs the other.
All right, so I'm going to add a note to this particular issue to capture that, because I think otherwise we're going to find ourselves passing the same mile marker again in conversation.
Yeah.
+1. Yep, let's do that. Okay, so last meeting we did some sorting here, and so basically this is basically ordered. At least the top few epics are ordered as per the priority of what we think. If if anyone think that the priority needs to be changed or have any opinion, suggestion around it, please feel free to speak up and discuss. And so first one was the performance and scale epic. The next one was initial kubectl operator plugin updates for operator controller and catalog D. So I think last week also we did not have that client sig meeting, right? Client tool sig meeting. And so Joe, do you plan to discuss it in the client's tool sig meeting or?
Yep. I don't have a brief or anything written yet, but I think this is one of the things I was planning to bring up today at the supporting tools SIG meeting.
Awesome. Thanks. The next one is help admins determine necessary permission for bundle life cycling. And this is, do you think the epic has enough information, or do we need to kind of refine the description also a little bit more?
I haven't looked at this probably since June 10th, 2024. So it might be not quite right, or might have missing details. I'd say I would just defer to Taylor and Brett, because I know that they've written an RFC that at least starts to cover some of this stuff. This is basically like the third phase of what their work so far is. So it's still maybe a little bit future thinking, but I think they probably have the most relevant info for what they're thinking on in terms of how to do this. And I can certainly provide opinions and insight if Brett or Taylor are here and want me to help with that. But I think we've talked about this a decent amount and have a pretty good handle.
Yeah, where is this in the planning process, Lala?
This is not planned yet. This is basically for future. So there's no status. So
Yeah, I think it'd be better to talk about this after we're a little bit farther along on the current pre-flight permissions work.
Yeah,
Cool.
this one is blocked by what's currently in progress.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
or
it's
like
also
Yeah,
also
so you-
blocked by the fact that we don't have a CLI. Because I think the only way to actually make this easier for admins is to have a CLI that can orchestrate it.
yeah, I mean, I was going to say you can think of it as blocked, or that what we're doing is like a constituent part of that effort. But like, yeah, we got to do this work, and
can someone update the description saying the same thing, like 988 is the one which you guys are working on, Brett and Taylor. Can you update the description saying at least we will come back to this once 988 is implemented or done?
And it's 988 and whatever that CLI one that we were just looking at is.
I can just write here. Okay. After we implement 988 and 737, right?
What is
No.
737?
I don't think 737 was the right one.
Restrictions in user
Oh,
service account.
737.
So we did that one, but that's
Yeah.
relevant too, so that's fine.
If you save those changes, Lala, and just go back for a sec, it's right at the top of the, or if you just open another tab with the planning. It's right there. I think 1424. Second one down. Is that the right one, Joe?
Yep.
Yeah,
So that's
1424, Lala. It's right there at the top now.
So that's the third issue we need to put in the description of 919.
Yeah.
$14.24.
I'll put it at the end.
Yep. Yeah, that's great.
Okay, at least this gives some kind of understanding, right? That we will wait for these things to finish. Okay, sounds good. Awesome. Moving to the next one. Support registry view on bundles that include CSV with stake dot webhook definitions. Yeah, so thanks, Joe, for this one. So Joe has a proof of concept for this one, so he already linked here. Well, this is a PR. Yep. The two
Yeah,
PRs.
both of those are just WIP prototype PRs that I closed because we weren't going to merge them, but I'm sure both have some useful stuff in them for us to talk about and get some insight on. Potentially just reuse too.
Yeah. Yeah, this is basically open for folks who are interested into this, right?
Generally, yeah. I think we need to be careful as a community not to be doing too many things at once. So if someone from the community is interested in pitching in on this, then definitely speak up and we can figure out when a maintainer can poke their head in and help out.
Cool. Moving to the next one, which is support watch namespaces via parameterization for registry view on bundles and extension API. So these definitely need more description. I think it should have the needs triage, needs information label also. Maybe we can, maybe folks, if folks are interested.
Did I put a comment in this one that says that this isn't a prototype that
No, I don't see any comment from you.
because I have a prototype for this too. I'll see if I can. It's 593.
Yeah, 593.
I'll put a comment there.
Okay. I would put action item on you.
I'm doing it right now, so don't worry
Okay,
about it.
okay, cool. The next one is, I think till this point, we have, last meeting, we have kind of gone through and kind of agreed to this priority list. And the next one is 1440, which is a retry limits and a new reason to be progressing status condition that is present when retry limit is raised. So right now, I think we talked about it a little bit. We keep on retrying. When I'm not reaching the progressing condition to happy state, and that's not good. We need to have a retry limit. How much we want to retry. So the description is up to date. And And I think this is
Yeah.
yeah, I
I
kind
don't
of,
think there's much.
yeah, there's much to do. Yeah. So, so it's currently just below the watch namespaces we have parameterization, so which is good. So let's go through and see if anything needs to come up. The next one is support direct bundle direct installation. And I think this is also decent content in it. There is a brief, I think probably Jordan created the brief. This is already linked. There is a proof of concept also, which Joe commented. So this is kind of, there is good content for people to look into. Between these two epics, which is a retrial limits and a new reason to progressing status condition, and then the next one is support direct bundle installation. Any conversation between which one should be should have more priority. I feel like I agree with the current priority because this is like a API thing which we should fix. So I feel like this is right, but please comment if you think this is not the right order. Okay. Move to the next one, which is cluster extension parameter pass to templating engine. And this also needs information, triage information.
Can you scroll down on that one?
Now this also have proof of concept.
Yeah, it turns out that when you convert a registry v1 bundle to a Helm chart, tons of this stuff is you get. So that one prototype in 1418 has a bunch of this stuff.
What is the comment about this should also consider proxy information? I think that is already done.
No, actually, that's the HTTP proxy, HTTPS proxy, and no proxy config environment variables. We don't actually pass any of that into any of the deployments that we create. There is an OpenShift annotation or label we can add to deployments to have that done automatically, but right now we don't do that in OLM v1. We do it in OLM v0, however.
Yeah, I think we would want to think about, there's going to be tons of this sort of thing where a vendor is going to have some interesting integration in their product where it would be really great if OLM could automatically do that vendor's thing. I don't think we should just do it. So I think we need to think about is there an API that would facilitate that? Is there how exactly do we want to handle the fact that vendors that package OLM into their product are going to want to have extra integration hooks? But separate from the proxy stuff. Otherwise, I think this one is mainly about having a place in the cluster extension API for a cluster admin to set arbitrary something. And then we pass that into the templating engine that knows how to template the bundle. And if we're dealing with Helm charts, then Helm charts already have a whole bunch of functionality for that, and we would just be plumbing it together, which is, if you look at the POC, that's what it does, essentially. So one potential way that we could wave our hands over this problem is that we would just say, well, we're not going to facilitate any of that automatically if a if a bundle contains some templating that would, where they can say, please pass this stuff through, then maybe we would have some way of, for example, like, oh, please tell me which annotations you want to put on the deployment. do you want to put the inject proxy annotation on there, yes or no? And then the cluster admin would just set that value to yes, for example. So there's like ways that OLM can not be in the loop of that. But that's still there's lots of different ways we could implement that. Another thing that we could potentially do is we could have some way of registering like various bits of cluster metadata in a common place and then making that available to the templating engine automatically. And then the bundle, if it's written as a Helm chart, could basically say like, hey, does this metadata exist? If so, then insert it into my manifests and wherever I want to do it, essentially. So one of the places where this is really weird in OLMv0 is that we just blindly copy proxy configs everywhere, and it may not always make sense for that to happen. And every time OLMv0 does something like that, there's somebody, some user, usually an operator author out there who's like, actually, can you change how that works? And we basically have to say no. So what I really want for OLMv1 to do is to make that information available, but don't actually do anything with it, require a bundle to do something with it.
So in the bundle format, which is registry v1, how once I build the bundle and it's already shipped it, so if I want to change some parameters, I have to rebuild it, right? Rebuild the bundle.
For registry v1, OLMv0 has a very specific algorithm essentially for how to plumb all of this stuff through. So for registry v1, as much as we can, we'll probably just re-implement that same logic. But that's what I was saying before, that logic is very inflexible, very opinionated, doesn't always work for what operator authors need, doesn't always work for what cluster admins need. So yes, for registry v1, it is what it is. We're not going to change it because it would break existing content. But when we do a new bundle format, we want to make sure that the way that our parameter passing thing works well enough for that too.
And we'll do it through Helm format so that we respect Helm's templating mechanism also.
I think Helm is one of the things that should be in the back of our minds for this feature. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So this is currently placed below direct bundle installation. The next one is add release attribute, which is specifically for, I think, a registry v1 format where we wanted to add a release attribute like release when you just change release related method and rebuild a bundle. Is that right?
Yeah, the idea here was for registry v1 to have a release attribute.
Right.
The more I think about this, I don't know, Jordan, if you have an opinion, if you're here, but
so many opinions.
I don't know, like I would love for this to be a thing, but it's like as soon as we say here's a new change to the registry v1 format, it's an optional new change. Even the fact that it's backwards compatible, as Jordan will attest, all of our attempts to add backwards compatible things have turned out to have these like crazy implications. So I almost feel like maybe we should just let registry one be what it is. As soon as we support Helm charts already have here's an app version and a chart version. And so they basically already have that feature built in. And maybe we just let this be. I don't know. I'm interested in Jordan, what you think.
So I will start out by conceding that the thing that has held up any kind of progress on this has been conversations that we've had with users of the registry v1 bundle format and how they had conflicting needs, and our attempts to address them have not borne fruit because of the complexity and because they end up being self-contradictory. you end up doing some version of the borrowing Peter to pay Paul problem. And I would still like to see. It's been on my to-do list for a while to spend some more time on this, because I'd still like to see for us to be able to frame this in a way where it could be useful to people. Like, one of the core concepts that we've evolved in the last couple of years has been the idea of bundle immutability, because we didn't want people to say re-release the bundle under a previous version, because that would strand anybody who had already installed it, because it says this thing is this thing, so therefore you can't upgrade away from it. And I still think that we have that very real need, but frankly, we don't have people complaining about that. So it's taken a back seat to other initiatives.
Yep.
So I don't want to punt this. I don't want to right now put it behind the horizon of V1/Helm only yet. Yeah.
I
That
think
may
I
be
would
brought
put it
around.
behind the orphan deletion policy though, which is the next epic on the list in the roadmap.
Oh, you mean in terms of priority?
Yeah.
Oh, well, in terms of priority, I would put this down at the bottom here. This is a personal passion project for me, and I think that there might be a way to do it, but we need to have a eureka moment to really put this out in
Let's not put it
any
that far
V0
down.
space.
Okay.
I want to keep, like, I think this is important. There's a reason we put it where it was.
And there's
So,
there's a reason that we started conversations about what this would look like and started examining impacts with some particular users.
Yeah.
do you want me to put just before migration?
I mean, it's probably more important than migration too.
Add support for Helm chart.
Definitely, yeah. I'd say put it right under 386. Let's put it there for now. Which is
386.
further down. The migration one. Put it right beyond that.
Yeah, above or below? Below, you're saying?
Below, yeah.
Okay.
At this point, we're like at least a couple months into the future. Do we want to keep triaging this far down?
I'm fine stopping here.
Yeah, as long as we've identified some good work, should we have people step up who are looking for something, that's really the short-term goal I'd like to see us hit.
Yeah, I think like if you look at the top, so if you scroll back up to the top, let's see, like, what could we, if there were cycles for anybody in the community that was interested in picking this stuff up, performance and scale, certainly we can start working on. Updating kubectl operator plugin certainly could happen. We can't do 919 yet because that's blocked. We could do 1492. So there's at least 3 epics that we could pick up and start working on now.
And then also the next one also have a POC. You just added a comment about parameterization of registry V1 bundles.
Yeah.
Okay, sounds good. Stop the share. So yeah, that was our agenda. If anyone else have anything else to talk about, we can talk. Else.
I put an item in the agenda.
Oh,
It's
go ahead,
about
Camila.
no worries, it's fine.
Great.
It is about the metrics. Let's see if I can find it here as well. I put in the wrong place because that you didn't saw. Sorry.
Yeah, that's fine. That's fine. You can share the link and we can start discussing.
I put it up as well. In the last meeting, we spoke about the feature gate for the metrics, right? But then we are speaking internally and probably we don't need the feature gates for the metrics. So I would like to bring in this one for we reach a consensus.
Yeah, I think we should probably say that our metrics endpoint is here to stay. And I think it's just probably nuanced about what exactly that means. Like, will it always be at the exact service URL and port and endpoint that it always is? Is it just the endpoint that's guaranteed, but not the domain and port? So I think those are the nuances that we probably need to talk about. So that's one aspect, like where can I reach the metrics is part of the question. The other question is, what are the guarantees about the contents of the metrics endpoint? Are we saying that every metric that's in there right now will always be there? Or are we just saying there are going to be metrics here, no guarantees about whether they come or go? I think I would probably my stance is, let's say that there will be a slash metrics endpoint for the catalog D and operator controller pods, and we'll have a port definition on the pod for them to tell you where. Let's see. I would say there'll just be a metrics endpoint, and that's it basically, right? Like, it's then up to the packager then to run it in a way and provide even further guarantees about whether it's always going to be at the same. Is it just a pod IP? Which port is it on? What, all of that kind of stuff, I think we should not put in the public API. Where do others feel on this?
One question I have is that the basic metric about um, maybe that's not a relevant question. That's a downstream specific question. Sorry. No. I'm fine with this one. I think we discussed this before also. The reason we want to put it behind feature gate because we are not
Well, my most recent suggestion is let's not do a feature gate. Let's just claim that some aspect of it is public.
and there was some document and we wanted to do some documentation changes for that or something like that. We want to say that this is not, I think which I think Camila already did, right? That these are
Yeah.
this, yeah.
I think the discussion we need to split the things, right? We cannot like do a feature because of the documentation. The documentation need to be like a documentation of something, right? Or how you document it or how you make something public, it's one thing. If we need feature gates or not, it's another thing, right? I think if we split, make it easier. Then this point is like the idea was like, let's put behind a feature gate because we are afraid to put in our public API. But actually, our fear is like, if we needed to change the ports or the endpoint itself, how problematic could it be for us?
Oh.
In upstream.
It wouldn't be problematic for us, but that's not really the point. The point is like, is if anybody is actually trying to use this themselves in their clusters, and we go and change the port that we listen on, or if we don't include a service model, like there's a bunch of different aspects of what we could or couldn't do.
Then would be a breaking change, right? That is problematic for us because we want to ensure that we don't break things for the end users.
It would be a breaking change if we said it was part of our public API. Right now, we're not saying that's in our public API, so no one should depend on it. And if they do, well, we didn't say it was part of the public API. So that's kind of where I'm coming from with what I was saying earlier. Like, let's have a very minimal step into, okay, metrics are part of the public API, but just barely. And then we can see how that sort of plays out. And if we want to keep opening that door a little bit wider and wider, we can, but we can't ever close the door further.
Well, so
OIOS, what define what is in our public API or not is the documentation, right? Then we end up in the need of defining how we document that.
Well, I think what I was suggesting earlier is we could update our docs to say there's a page that says what's in our public API. And my going in position would be the fact that there is a /metrics endpoint on a listener, which is, yeah, so there's a /metrics endpoint on those pods. And I think that's probably the smallest thing we could say. It's like there's a /metrics endpoint. We're not guaranteeing which port it's going to be on. We're not guaranteeing if you'll be able to reach it via service in the cluster. We're not guaranteeing which metric time series are going to be in there. But at least then if we said that, then we could have further documentation that says like, here's what the metrics endpoint does, and here's sort of the realm of stuff that you might find there.
So
Yeah, it's very nuanced.
could you agree? We don't you do the feature gates, and then the documentation that speaks about the metrics endpoints, how to consume the metrics endpoints, we will still in the docs draft as we discussed in the last meeting. So we don't have any problem at all with that.
Well, I think part of the problem is that all of this stuff that lives outside of the Go binary. So the Go binary is where we would add a flag for a feature gate that says, metrics are part of the public API or not, or they're feature gated. The problem is there's a bunch of stuff outside of that. There's the manifests that we put in our release that are not controlled by the feature gate. So it's like you can't turn those whole manifests on or off with our current code base. So what I kind of think we need to do before we get into these kinds of questions is to go and essentially make a Helm chart for our release or something to that effect, where then we could be a little bit more clear where we'd say the Helm chart manages this stuff for you. If you want to put it behind a different service or change the namespace or this or that, then you can. And we don't have to be quite so worried about like right now, I think like my worry is, well, what if we want to split the namespaces back out and then the service name changes because the namespace is different? Like there's all these little things that we haven't even thought about or designed. They're just sort of there because that's what we ended up doing. And we did not put them in our public API specifically because we know that we didn't think about it. So I just want to be extremely careful not to enshrine something that we gave very little thought to directly into our public API.
So can we agree that all these small niche things that we have these concerns, we can document, but leave in the docs draft? Don't go.
Yeah.
That is fine because we need the documentation for us to know how the things are, but it doesn't go there. And then when we be in the point, we see how we can improve that. And now we don't have the feature gates for this one.
I think that's fine, yeah. And what that means is none of this is public API at all yet,
Yes,
which is also fine with me still.
just to
It's
simplify.
But I know I'm a very opinionated, vocal person. I don't want to just be the only opinion in the room. Is anyone wanting to have this be part of the public API? Is there some really good reason for us to spend a lot of time trying to think about how to make this public in a consumable way?
I definitely want to go through the Jira and not Jira, sorry, the GitHub issue and provide some opinion. Do you want to discuss it, maybe slot it after everybody we kind of go through it and basically maybe a Slack thread or something?
Yeah, that'd be fine.
Yeah, because
Yeah.
also we are reaching the time for today. But I'll definitely, I'll also encourage everybody else to go through the GitHub issue and have your opinion.
I think one thing, right? I think what Joe's want is like we try don't give are shooting our feet. So
Right.
about this one, the decision to do a feature gate was more about these discussions like, okay, so we do a feature gate for don't put in the public API. So then we realized that it would be a loss of effort that has no need to put that behind a feature gate, but we still doesn't want to put that in the public API, right? Because we are not comfortable yet that we will not need to do any change at all regards to the metrics endpoint.
Well, so Camilla, I think my question, and I know we're going to run over here, but my question is like, okay, say we added the feature gate. All that would do is turn off the metrics endpoint. It would have nothing to do with which namespace is the service going to be in and what's the URL that I reach. To me, the fact that there's a metrics endpoint is probably fine to be just public. Like, I think that's probably never going to go away. The part that I'm more cautious about is all of the other stuff around it. So that was my argument for like, well, what purpose does the feature gate serve? I think I could, like, if someone said like, hey Joe, do you think we should put that /metrics handler always on in the code? I'd say yes. In which case we can write some statement about that actual little piece of it being public. And then I just want to have more conversation and thought about the rest of it. So Victor, I think that's me trying to answer your question is we just haven't thought about the upstream release, the manifest. Like it's very much like you can install OLM and we're not giving you any guarantees about which namespaces the deployments are in or what the deployment names are. The only guarantees you get are that there are cluster extension and cluster catalog APIs that are functional, and the behavior is essentially not going to break on you. But nothing else is public intentionally because we just haven't had the time to think about, are we sure this is how we want all of this to look? So we're just trying to be extremely deliberate.
Well, thanks, guys. We kind of reached our time, so but we can definitely discuss in a thread, or you can come back next meeting again and discuss this after everybody kind of go through the GitHub issue and have some opinion on this.
Perfect.
Awesome.
Thank you, folks. Really thank you, Joe.
Thanks, everyone. I'm going to stop the recording.